Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Today we're going to be talking about 20 Strong. This is a dice-driven game from Chip Theory Games for one player, in which you are going to be managing many different custom dice, trying to get through a deck of challenges, attempting to ultimately beat a big bad without running out of life. This game includes this box you're seeing right here, all 20 of the dice, and it includes one deck of cards, Solar Sentinels, which is what you're fighting in it. But you can also purchase, besides this, and you need this to play the game, you can also purchase a couple of other decks that exist. And you can take those 20 dice up against a Hoplomachus-inspired deck here, Victorum, and one based on Too Many Bones, right here. So each of these is basically standalone, but you need the dice from the other thing, all right? So we're going to be covering kind of generally the base game, but mentioning these two certainly. Let's go ahead and take a look at what comes in here, how it works. We'll be right back. In 20 Strong, you win the game by defeating a boss, and you're going to lose if your health ever drops to 0. Now, you can change many of these parameters and how you go about doing everything you do in this game by changing which game you are playing against or which deck. Here I'm showing you the one that comes included in the base purchase for 20 Strong, Solar Sentinels, but lots of these things set up how you go about many of these ideas would be different if you're playing, say, against the Hoplomachus deck or the Too Many Bones deck. I'm going to not worry about those right now. We are taking a look here at Solar Sentinels. So we've got the game set up. You are going to select one of these characters. This one comes with 6 different ones, 3 cards double-sided, but we are going with Galahad the Lancer there. I have set these dice to match their values, 1, 3, and 2, and they are a little bit difficult because they have this very cool pearlescent vibe going on. There's a special ability there as well. We are playing with something they recommend you don't play with the first time, and that is these cards here, which give you another challenge to overcome. You draw some of those and set that up. We've got 3 decks of 15 cards each, and we are ready to go. So the idea in the game here is we're going to be going through a breakdown of the turn continually until we either win or we lose, and that is on the back of the rulebook included with Solar Sentinels right here. So I'm going to be using this to explain what we are doing as I go through one full flow of a round, and that should give you an idea of what's going on. Then I'll talk a little bit about the final boss. So starting from the top, we activate one enemy. If that enemy has a specific symbol that means you activate more enemies, then you activate more enemies. That symbol there. And also, if the enemy in this game has this orange frame around it, then that is a mandatory enemy, and you have to activate them, one of them, if you have a choice. So if this was my display, I have to activate this one. It's a mandatory one. I would do that by bringing it down here, and again, it might activate further ones if it has that skull symbol. And that is it for the first part of a round activation, and we move on to engagement, the real meat of the game. The engagement step in and of itself has 2 parts, a strategy phase and a resolve phase. Now that strategy phase you can repeat based on your strategy stat, which is this middle die right here. I have a 3. So I'm going to be able to go through the strategy phase up to 3 times before I hit the resolve phase, all right? And basically it has the commit dice, roll them, and apply them. And then I can do that again, commit them, roll them, apply them, and a 3rd time. So what that means is I'm going to be selecting these dice and rolling them against this baddie so that I can take them out. This baddie has a health, has an amount it'll hit me back for if I don't take it out, and then some statistics. There are effects that happen during the round, at the end of the round, and so forth. There will also be oftentimes down here some sort of item that I can keep if I take this baddie out, and I'll simply hold on to the bottom half of the card here, this white text, until I choose to use it. Sometimes it's an ongoing, like this one. Sometimes it's instantaneous, like this one here. And sometimes it's a one-time, I activate it whenever I want it kind of thing, like that one there. So I'm fighting up against this. And we go to the commit dice step. I grab any dice I want to. Now, something I want to point out here, all of these dice are going to have on every side a little symbol that shows you how many of the faces are hit. The yellow ones being the worst, they only hit, as you see there, on 2 sides. Greens on 3s, 4s, 5s, and then the red one hits on every side, so 6s. And they all, besides that, have one face, it includes that, that is a crit. So for example, a yellow die hits on 2 faces, 1 and 2, and one of those 2 is a crit, as you see right here. That means it hits for 2 damage, not just 1 like these. So I select what dice I want. That's the first thing, and my choice is whatever I want. So I'll take these 3 dice, let's say. I roll them, and then I commit them. I rolled here a critical blue, I have a purple, I have the screen. This is 1, 2, this is a 3rd hit, and I'm done. That was 1 round of the strategy phase. I applied the dice. Now, I can go to the top of it again, where I again commit dice. Maybe I'll take 2 of these, let's say, and the green one I had left over, and I roll it all. If I had any left over, they get rolled again. Like so, and I commit that. I'm now at 4 hits, I need 2 more. And now I get to do another round. I have a 3 there. So maybe I'll try to shore up and make sure I get this one. I get those, I roll that, and I got plenty of hits. So I could apply all of this. As soon as I apply enough hits to it, if it has an ongoing event or effect, it blanks that out. And now I can actually move on to my resolve step, in which I suffer damage, only if I didn't take it out. So no, I'm fine here. If I hadn't, I would take that much damage. I have any after effects I would deal with. I don't have any here, but this is an after effect. Two little arrows. Then I exhaust dice. Any dice I chose, I would exhaust. And then I recover dice equal to this stat. So from here, I bring 2 back. Normally, you bring back your best dice. And then I can gain an item reward. This has an item reward, so I'm going to gain that. I like to tuck it under here, so I see what I've got. Once that's done, then I do a cleanup step in which I discard any active cards. So if I didn't beat them and they hurt me, they still go away. And then I have to discard 1 non-mandatory from one of these stacks. So maybe I'll get rid of this, and that's out. Then I go back to the top where I select one of these, bring them down, I grab some dice, I roll them, I assign them, I go through that a few times, and then I see if I was able to beat them all, lose some dice, recover some, gain rewards possibly, and clean that up. Now these right here are looking for specific things that I need to achieve. So for example, this one here, Bait the Trap, says I have to suffer at least 1 damage in 3 separate engagements. And I'll use this tracker to keep track of that. As I do that, I'll be turning this up and keeping track of it. Once I get to 3, then this is done and that goes away, and then I'll reset this and start working on the next one. If I can clear all 3, that's great, because I'm not going to get extra baddies to fight when I finally get to the boss. When one of these stacks is gone, then I may, at the beginning of a turn, fight the boss. Sometimes there'll be one face up because some event let me flip one. Sometimes there won't be. If there is, I'm fighting this guy. If there isn't, then I randomly pick one, okay? If there's 1 stack gone, like I said, I may choose to do it. If all 3 stacks are gone, then I have to do it. I have to fight the baddie, the big boss. And when the big boss comes down, it behaves a little differently. I bring them down, they bring some posse with them, and I select from whatever decks are left. I might do 1, I might do 2, and I might do 3. Note that when I fight the boss, I can ignore the extra baddies symbol just when I'm fighting the boss. If I have any of these left, that would be more skulls on the boss there, so I might have to bring down another one, what have you. And then I have to fight. Now the rule book will specify how you need to tackle this, but normally you just have to take out the boss. And the boss fight will be a little bit different. Damage on these guys, if they're not killed, they don't leave, and I don't have to do a normal sort of activation at the beginning of the turn. That's the general flow. Conserving these is a big part of the game. And of course, making sure that you are indeed utilizing your special ability. One final thing I want to mention is this die right here, besides letting you know how many waves of dice rolling and selection you can do, denotes and limits one other thing, and that is how many items you can have. So I can have up to 3 items because this is a 3, but if it's only, if it dropped or for some reason started at 2, then I can only have 2 things, and I can only do 2 waves of rolling in the same round, in the same turn. So there you go. That is a general flow and concept of the game. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what's going on. Let's go ahead and go back up top. So the first thing I'll say about this one is that I thought that the box it feels like it has more game in it than the size would lead you to believe. The idea of everything that's going on, all the special abilities, all the different levers and switches you can flip and pull, and there's a lot of game, there's a lot of stuff happening and things to sort of keep in mind in this tiny little box.
Absolutely. I mean, if you show me this type of box, I'm thinking something like Hearts or some, a little trick-taking game, something like that. This does bring more depth than one of those games, and I think then the box would lead you to believe, especially when you start looking at some of the other decks you talked about and the way you see that system kind of manipulated in different ways.
And I think that's particularly interesting coming from this publisher, Chip Theory Games, because they're known for exactly the opposite of what this game is, which are these huge sprawling productions that are in mega boxes and, wooden cubes that take up a whole calyx shelf. This is much smaller, although they still do have some of their signature kind of production choices. They've got, a little chip, which is where Chip Theory Games come from, essentially a poker chip. And it has the plastic kind of PVC cards. It does not have neoprene, but I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to shoehorn some neoprene in the future.
Yeah, at some point, for sure, I could see that.
Yeah, they'll find a way to put it in one of the upcoming boxes, I'm sure. One thing I want to point out here is when it comes to variety, I thought this had an interesting balance between variety, which is what you want every time you play the game is different, and the idea of the character you pick to be, that can be different. You're given, various choices in each of these boxes. But also, there's a good balance between that kind of variety and I could learn this deck side of that spectrum. And utilize your knowledge of the cards that exist in one of these, it's 60 cards or so, without getting too repetitive, without being like, oh, yes, I know what's next because I've memorized the deck. But you can learn what's in the deck and use that information to help you. I really need to find that one guy who's going to up my retrieve die or whatever. Where is that? Let me look for that. Let me find that. Let me prioritize this path through the game. It's not perfect information, but I thought they nailed it between repetitive and variety, and that sauce is working for me.
And I think that's especially important as you're looking at the different characters that you choose to play, who you choose to play with that variety. And you learn that deck because that really makes that scouting action important. You might want to scout to try and find that baddie that's going to allow you to take your health up an additional point, or going to allow you to bump up your stat to refresh your dice or something like that, because you're playing a character that's lower. You know that's in the deck. You know how many there are. You're scouting to find that. I think that really plays on that aspect as well.
Yeah, scouting specifically happens in the Too Many Bones one. In Solar Sentinels, the one in here, you can discard a card off the top of the deck. Yeah. It's effectively kind of the same thing.
Yeah, so familiar with that term more.
Right.
And in terms of the variety, I think, we're talking about 20 Strong really as a system here. We're going to touch on the 3 different IP that came out with it, but it's a system that allows itself, I believe, for that variety. It's a very versatile, and you wouldn't think so because it's not a complex kind of loop that these games are all driven by, which are these dice that we're talking about, the 20 dice. And I was especially impressed with how different those 3 games built off of this system were. Solar Sentinels is their original IP. It's something that has not been from another game, and it feels very distinct to the Too Many Bones version of the game, which if you've never played Too Many Bones, it's still going to feel very different from Solar Sentinels. But if you have played Too Many Bones, you may be like me where you're like, this is so cool how they took this system and still made it feel kind of like Too Many Bones, and Hoplomachus the same way. And so what it does is it encourages me that there's going to be continued content using this core loop, and it works very well.
I agree. I think the 3 decks that are out so far are tremendously different, and kudos to them for managing to make them feel so different. So yes, absolutely. And I look forward to seeing what else they come out with.
And that being said, I also think that the Sentinels deck going into it feels distinct and fresh at the same time. It's like Mike just said, it's something new that they're presenting here. And it manages to be an entry point into the system without feeling immediately like, I have to have something else. I'll never play this again. There's enough uniqueness, enough draw to it that is one that I would return to as well if I wanted that theme, if I felt like fighting some aliens instead of going in as a gearlock to fight the big baddie at the end, or you know, going into the arena. So I like that as well. I think that 20 strong, that base, that Sentinels one is a great starting point, kind of almost a necessary starting point to understand the system, because from there the other two feel like variations on that within their own themes, but it stands strong on its own.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone should feel like they have to buy this and the other two right away. This is what you need. Get this if you're interested. See what you think, because I don't know if you despise this box, if the other ones would change your mind. Yes, they're different, to the point that they almost feel like different games, but the core is the same. If the things in this that bother you, I don't think will be fixed in the other ones, is my point, okay? And speaking of those things, I think the main one for me is that this game has a serious amount of luck in it. 20 strong, the 20 stands for dice, there's a bunch of dice in this. This game is lucky. Yes, there are many points of interest. There are things you should target and worry about and do and consider. The game is not just luck. But I have lost this game on turn 1. It is possible. Okay, those purple dice that roll 5 hits and 1 blank, they can still roll a blank.
Right.
You can still get 3 of them to roll a blank. I know. It's happened. So I think it's interesting that there is so much luck in it, but that learning the deck and knowing what you should do curves that quite a bit.
Right. And I'll say the other side of that, you've lost in turn 1. I've lost 5 turns, over the course of 5 turns, I should say. I knew I was going to lose, but it took 5 turns to get there. It was just that death spiral where you're like, I know this is unrecoverable, but here we go just in case. And guess what? In every single one of those games, I lost. You know, so if you get in that death spiral of not being able to have the refresh dice come up, that can really, really hose you as well with that luck factor can just be very, very high.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that luck is built into this system. I mean, it's essentially a big part of the 20-strong dice system is a push your luck element, right? I mean, you know the probabilities on each of those dice. That's, you know, and so you're saying, okay, how can I, you know, can I risk going without the purple die here? It's a push your luck, you know, big part of the game. So you have to know that going in. And I mean, since every one of these games is presumably going to use this dice system, that has to be something that you are okay with.
Yeah,
and the dice system is really the meat and potatoes here. It's the beating heart of this game. If that's something that appeals to you, you are going to probably like it. Yes, you might like some of the variations more than others. I personally, my favorite one is the Too Many Bones. I would say Too Many Bones is my favorite, then Solar Sentinels, then Hoplomachus. It's the hardest, I thought. It's the thinkiest, the more sort of rules heavy, and I thought it was a little long also. This game is already kind of on the edge of that for me. The box time says 30 to 40 minutes. It can go a little long, and the Hoplomachus felt a little longer than that to me, but again, you'll find kind of your comfort zone with this one. So for me, I'm coming down at a 7.5 on this one. It's a tricky one. It's one that I have clear issues with. I can voice them. I know what they are. They certainly bother me a bit. I also keep thinking about the game and wanting to play it. I keep bringing it out. I want to travel with it. I want to find myself in a situation where I have those 40, 45 minutes and nothing else to do, and this on my person. So I can be like, oh, I know what I'm doing. 20 strong. Here we go. I love that this box can carry any one of these decks in it. That's a dumb little thing, but I like that. I can pull out Solar Sentinels, put in Hoplomachus, travel with this. I enjoy this, and that 7.5 is also a very hopeful 7.5 because I want to see what else they're going to do with the system. It's a clever little thing. It's probably a slam dunk for people who love chip theory, honestly. But even for me, I like some of the games. I wouldn't say I love the games. This is a clever thing, and if you are not, you don't have an adverse reaction to luck, and you don't mind sort of playing the odds, I think you're going to enjoy 20 strong.
I think I started out at a 7.5 on this one after playing the Sentinels one. I was like, all right, I'm liking this. I'm digging it. And then I went to the Too Many Bones, and it shot up for me. So I'm at an 8.5 on this. For everything that you were saying, it's so easy to travel with. I do love Too Many Bones, and I just found myself smiling through it as I'm like, oh, I get it, and my misses go up here and fuel my special power, because I have my Too Many Bones. I saw those little references to the game. It did feel like I was playing a filler version of a game. I love that you said that. It felt like Too Many Bones, the filler version. It also very quickly reminded me of one of my favorite solo game, Final Girl, and yes, the luck is high. But that leads, knowing that is in there, it's such excitement every time you roll the dice, because you're like, this could make or break the game. This could be that downward death spiral. It could be instant death, or it could be just setting me up for another great round, and it's just, there's so much excitement on every round, not knowing which way it's going to go. For me, that sings. I can see why people wouldn't like it if that's not your thing. But it reminded me of that Final Girl, those moments, but so much easier to travel. I can interchange it, like you said. I can take Too Many Bones one time and Hoplomachus the next time, and or this new one, the Sentinel one. So for me, it really sang, and I think it was a smart move to come out with those extra boxes at the same time. I don't think you need them, but if you know you like one of those games, when you pick it up, you're going to see that relation and just be excited. And I think it just showed what the future is going to hold, how they can make it feel like the game. It shows the variability and the good design behind it with the flexibility of the core system. So for me, it's an 8.5.
And I'm with you, Camilla. It's also an 8.5, and it's interesting because it's 8.5 with that promise that you were kind of like talking about, Z. The idea is that I feel like this system has proven already how versatile it is just with these three titles. I prefer Too Many Bones, just like the both of you do. I like Hoplomachus next, and then Solar Sentinels, but they all kind of fulfill different things, the experiences that I may be looking for. Everything else equal, I'm going to go with Too Many Bones. I do think it's the best implementation of the system. And Hoplomachus, much like the Big Daddy game it comes from, is longer. I mean, it is longer. So if I want a more epic feeling experience and it's still a filler-ish, then I'd go there. If I want the fastest of the games, the most straightforward, then I will go with the Solar Sentinels. They all have their own distinct charm to me. I think the system is excellent, and I'm really looking forward to where they go in the future, because I'm sure they've learned some lessons throughout doing these, and I'm sure they've had a lot of ideas. The one other thing that I would note that I think that this product could fulfill is that I'm assuming, and I'm pretty sure that there are people that have been chip theory curious, I'll put it. They've been like, man, I really like the look of these games, but I'm not going to drop $150 and a whole bunch of shelf space for something that I don't know if it's even going to be for me. Here's a way that you can kind of get an idea for what chip theory is about at a much smaller and cheaper price point. So I think that that's something that could potentially be a big part of this as well. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. And I think you're right. This shows the company's DNA. They are not scared of luck. They are not scared of humor. And these components are also very representative of their company. So that's a fantastic recommendation too. If you're interested in the company, give this a shot. See what you think here. Hey, before you take the big plunge to something else. There you go, folks. That is 8.5 for 20 strong. That is a seal of excellence. And hopefully this has been useful to you. You've got the base game. You've got the other two. Make sure you check out whatever one of these catches your eye. You're going to need the core box, of course. But that's going to do it for this solo game. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Manage your life. Don't let the baddie get you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.